This thing on? I don't know. I'm going to go with it. Hey, what's up? It's me, Animal. Only on Animal Expedition Files. See you there. Hey everybody, welcome to the Animal Expedition Files. I am your host, the Animal on Animal Expedition Files, where we torture you with paranormal, cryptids, anything you can think of, Hollywood, creepy stories, conspiracy theories, you name it. We talk about it all, but I'm so thankful to be on back. I am actually officially up north in Rhode Island, so I am a Rhode Islander. No more or a Floridian. I'm back home where I'm originally from, so I am home. It feels good to be back home and to be back and explore all the cool places that I get to explore. So I hope you guys are having a good day and a good night. And I have Ian A. Stevens with me today, who's from Cap Studios, directed a whole bunch of amazing projects, so you don't want to miss out on that. We're going to have amazing conversations about Cap Studios, about what he's doing with Velvet Hammer, and a whole bunch of other amazing things. So please hang out with us, and we're going to have Ian Stevens on with us. What's up, Ian?
I'm doing fine. You want to turn your music off because I can't. Yeah, there you go. It was. I could barely hear you when you were talking, just so that your EQ is properly. I want to take my glasses off because I want to look ever so handsome. But right now I can't see. So there you are. Oh, Mom, there you are. Mom, you grew a beard. What's going on there?
Oh yeah, I know.
How's it going? How's your move to Rhode Island? Up there in Rhode Island there?
It's raining right now. It's cold and rainy. And
yeah.
I missed the blizzard though. The blizzard that they call it. The blizzard of 26.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
well,
it was
it's nice down here. It's warm. It's about 79 degrees. I was hoping to see the launch, but there was cloud cover between here and we normally can see when the rockets take off because the rocket took off tonight to go to the moon, and they're on their way. Everything's good as gold, and but there was too much cloud cover, so I just watched it on one of the cable channels to watch it take off. And it looks really good. But Godspeed those guys. You're gonna be out there for 10 days out in outer space.
Yeah, they're going around
so tonight. When you look at the moon. Moon's out, be a full moon tonight, so you can say our crew is heading out there. I want to say our boys, but there's a lady in there, and they're Canadian, so the Canadians don't know what they are.
Isn't there a song, Take Me?
Is there a song called what?
Take Me to the Moon. Take Me to the Moon. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was Perry Como. So, Josh, I would just say, do me a favor, don't quit your day job, okay? Because I think you probably get 5th place or 6th place in karaoke. So
I practice in the shower.
Hey, hey, hey! Yeah, good old jazz tune.
I wonder if they're listening. That it's like their big hit when they take off. Take Me to the Moon, since they're going to the moon.
I would probably want to hear Space Oddity by David Bowie. Ground control to Major Tom. I'd like to hear that one. Here I think for me, sitting in my tin can. What's that?
Theme song from Space Jam.
Oh, that's a possibility. I did work on Space Jam, by the way.
Oh, you did?
I did. I did some voices for some of the cartoons. I was back in early mid 90s. It was so funny that on the back lot at Warner Brothers, they built a what was temporary. It was up there for like 6 months, but it was a bona fide basketball court, and they enclosed it, and it was for Michael Jordan, so he could play. He needed to play. He needed to stay in shape, so he required
Yeah.
that they have a basketball court, and it was a legitimate parquet floor. I had a chance to go in there one day, just kind of peek my head in. I was thirsty, so the guys knew me from the cast, so I got to go walk in, and no joke, I go in there, and I was walking over to the vending machines to get something to drink, and there's 10 guys playing hoop. Michael
Oh,
Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge. It was
man.
all the stars at that time. Magic
Yeah.
had quit because he came out with HIV and all that stuff, but he was out there playing, and of course Michael Jordan and who's the other guys from? Oh, and Dennis Rodman was there. So they had probably about 12 guys. The two guys I remember sitting down on the ground. I'm thinking, this is a golden team from the Olympics, for crying out loud. But Michael Jordan's gonna call me and say, "Hey man, I need some pickup games. It's off season. Come on out to LA. My treat." I
Yeah.
mean, that's the way he is. I've heard. Other than he doesn't tip people when he gambles in Vegas, even when he's
What about
winning.
Bill Murray? Did you get to see Bill
What's that?
Murray? Did you get to see Bill
What's that?
Murray? Bill Murray.
I saw him. I saw him in the recording, in the Foley, not the Foley, but the ADR building a couple times, because they had to shoot second unit ADR. It's audio digital recording. It's doing the voiceover stuff, and
Yeah.
because there was so much basketball noise, they had to say, "Oh, we're going to do that in post." So a lot of the ADR stuff and things that I did with other voiceover artists like Jack Angel, and who's since passed away, Bob Bergman, who did Porky Pig, and
Wow.
he and I split. He had laryngitis one day, so I got to do Marvin the Martian for a couple of pages, which was fun. Oh, I'm going to have
That's
to
all.
switch an earthling with my flux capacitor. Earthling, a lot of
Love
fun,
Marvin.
Yeah, and then they had Noel. Uh, what's his name? Mel Blanc. Noel Blanc was his son, and after Mel had passed away, and so they used Noel to do Bugs Bunny, but he later lost the job because a lot of casting directors who had worked with Mel Blanc, his dad, said he was a true actor behind the voice, whereas with Noel, he could do the voice and stuff, but he lacked the passion of being able to personify the voice and have an algorithm as being an actor playing those roles. So they could say there was a
Yeah.
definite difference. And and with Jack Angel and Charlie Atkins and all those guys, Charlie Atkins did uh, mini Looney Tunes. He did the Baby Bunnies, all those kind of stuff. So those guys made a good living, and they still do. I know narratively, one of my dearest friends, Phil Crowley, he does. He's part of that inner circle, but it took him a lot of years to get to that point. But he's the voice of Shark Tank and tonight's show.
Oh,
Blah 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 blah. And then he does The Bachelor, The Bachelorette. He does Albertsons, and he does a lot of stuff for A&E. He does narratives, but he makes a healthy living simply doing voiceover work. And yet he got his degree from USC in music. Go figure. In
that's
musical
all.
conducting. He's a brilliant artist. I had a chance to be directed by him, and we actually attended the same church in Pasadena. That's how we knew each other. I've known Phil for, gosh, since about 1979, 1980. And then he wrote an original musical called Seeds. And at that time, I was just coming off of doing lots and lots of musicals because I had done Cats, I'd done Evita, Jesus Christ Superstar, Fiddler on the Roof. Well, I had hadn't done Fiddler and Son of Music just yet, but he said, Ian, I want you for this role. And I was, 22 at the time. And it was an original musical. It was about the prodigal son, about a traveling thing. And it was very inspirational. And it's some
Hmm.
great music he wrote, and his partner Jerry Nielsen wrote the story and the script, and we did it to a packed house. We did 3 performances with 1,800 people, and it was just kind of a backer's audition, if you will, to get investors to do it. Nothing ever came of it, but it's a great show. We had massive props, the whole 9 yards. We had a big covered wagon and a propped horse and all that kind of stuff. But the entertainment was actually just fantastic. David Thomas I worked with, who was great, and he had worked with I forget the black company that was out of LA, but he worked with Debbie Allen and a few others. He did his arms. He played the lead in "Your Arms Are Too Short to Box with God." It was a great
Huh.
musical back in the '80s and was very very popular. And David was that, and he played the prodigal son. So it was nice because I type I when I cast also I type or I cast against type, so I
Yeah.
don't really have to have a white actor. I mean, for example, when I directed uh, Romeo and Juliet back in '92 in Pasadena. My Juliet was a black girl, and my Romeo was an Asian boy, really long hair, tall, good looking. And yet my Petruccios and Capulets were, mixed Italian, black, white, green, purple. So to me, it was whoever's the talented one. I mean, even more recently, here in the last 10 years, I directed Give Me a Charlie Brown in Clearwater. And my Snoopy was a black man. And so was Patty. Patty was a black girl, and they just were talented, and I cast accordingly. So
Yeah.
and we packed them out. We had sold out rooms and did really well with that. I love directing stage as well as doing film, and I know that we're going to talk about that tonight with Velvet Hammer. It's been doing very well for us, and so yeah, things are coming together for Cap Studios. Thanks for asking.
There's actually one thing I did want to talk to you about.
What's
We'll
that?
go. Um, that I didn't realize it until I saw a comment that you posted on Facebook a while back that you were in the music video Thriller with Michael Jackson.
I
Talk a little bit
was.
about that. That's one of my favorite all-time 80s music videos, like especially on Halloween, because
Sure.
I love
Sure.
Halloween. And let's go a little bit into
Oh,
that
I
because
love
I love
Halloween. Well, I have a backstory for Halloween Horror Nights, and I'll tell you that in a minute. But yeah, it was 19. I was doing Fiddler on the Roof in 1982, and Michael Jackson had just come off doing Off the Wall album, and I mean, he could still walk around town, and people come up to him, give him autographs, but they didn't swarm him until like after Thriller was over. Anyway, I played Fiedka in Fiddler on the Roof in Los Angeles, and I had a scene where I was one of the three suitors of Tevye, who's the lead. He had his three daughters, and Havala was his youngest daughter. And I played Fiedka, the Russian. I had a goatee, as a Fu Manchu, Russian drip a beard at the time. I was 23 at the time, 22 or 23 at the time.
you still look
What's that?
you still look it. You still look the age.
Oh, bless your heart, young man. You're not a motherfucking liar. You know how that is. Anyway, so I played the Russian, and in the scene in Laser Wolf's Tavern, opening the scene after intermission, I come up and I start singing. I go, oh, yeah, and I sing this Russian tune. I can't remember my lyrics just yet, but I had to dance on a table with a bottle on my head and do the Russian kick out like this, bum bum ba da ba da bum bum, kind of thing. Well, and I only had one night, opening night. I had the thing velcroed to my hat, but after that, I really wanted to have a great sense of balance. Now I weigh 230 now, but back then I weighed 170. So I was really tall and skinny, and I just come off from playing Rolf in The Sound of Music. You are 16, going on 17, and I got wonderful accolades doing that show, LA Critics' Choice for Best Young Actor that year, 1981. Had a great time singing, dancing, acting. It was just I always consider myself a kind of a triple threat. You had to be in that, and to be competitive, you couldn't just be an
Yeah.
actor who could sing or a dancer who could act. You really had to kind of versatile. And I took tap lessons since I was a kid, so I had a lot of modern jazz, body movements. I had really flexibility and all that kind of stuff. And so anyway, I was doing Fiddler, and Michael came with Michael Peters, his choreographer, and a friend of mine, Michael James. Three Michaels, and they came to see the show. They came to see the show. This was February of '82, and they came backstage, and Michael was signing a couple of autographs. Came up to me and said, "Oh, I really like what you did tonight. I'm doing this video of my new album that's coming out, and I would really like you to be one of the main dancers." And I said, well, can you tell me more about it? He goes, well, are you okay with monsters and horror? I said, my family, my dad worked in science fiction movies, my uncles, all that kind of stuff. And I had a big love for science fiction when I was a kid. I said, yeah, of course. He said, you don't have a problem with zombies and witchery and wolfmen and all that kind of stuff? Some people do. And I said, no problem at all. He said, okay. Um, I said, do you know have a name for our title? He says, well, we're tossing around a couple of different. We're calling it chiller. We're thinking we call it thriller. We think we call it horror. And Two-Face. A whole bunch of different things. We really haven't finalized it, but it should be. We're going to do it in the next couple of months. Didn't happen for almost a year and a half later. As a matter of fact, the album came out. It was a smash hit. They were behind, so it was kind of like in reverse osmosis. So now they wanted to do it. So now they had to do the video. So Michael James called me up and said, we're going to be starting a rehearsal over at Debbie Reynolds' studio. Are you clear? Meaning, am I not obligated to another project? I said, no, I'm clear for the next couple of months. He said, well, we're going to be at Debbie Reynolds' studio, and we're going to be in Burbank, and we're going to rehearse for a couple of weeks, and then we're going to take it and then go shoot on location, also shoot in a soundstage at Universal. I said, yeah, okay, cool. So I came back there, and we met at the Debbie Reynolds studio, and we rehearsed for 3 weeks. Each day he would come in, he always had a new combination of a dance move. Like the one day he came in and started doing this, and next day he started coming hands and all this kind of stuff, and doing the thing with the head and all that kind of stuff. Well, we were talking in between takes, and people were taking mini breaks and stuff for water and whatnot. And Michael says, so Ian, tell me, where were you born? And I said, in Escondido, California. Oh, you're a California native? I said, yeah, although I've had a chance. I lived in Maryland and Illinois for a short time when my dad's job took us there, but always ended up back in Palo Alto or Pasadena. It's where I call those my two hometowns. And he said, well, how old are you? And I said, I'm 24. He says, I'm 24 too. He says, when's your birthday? And I said, April. He goes, mine's in August. I said, yeah, I know. He says, you're older than me. I said, yeah, I'm sorry. He goes, you're a punk. And that became his tagline for me. And then he bled that over to other people. So if there was something he didn't like, or something that he was just playing with people, he did that a lot with John Landis, who directed the video. And so when if John and him were teasing and being playful about stuff, or Michael James, he'd say, stop it, you're such a punk, you're being such a punk, you're like my brothers. But a relationship started with me and the family. I got to know Jermaine and Jackie and the guys, and before we rehearsed, we got a chance to. They invited me over at the house on Havenhurst in Encino, right off the Ventura Freeway. It was where their house was. It was just about a half mile north of the freeway. And Havenhurst was one of the main roads in Encino. Well, the first house on the right is the guard gate. When I went there the first time, before the video got released, there were a couple people, and I buzz in and they come out. I park my car, and then we go shoot some hoop along with some other mutual friends that we had over there. So it wasn't just the Jackson Five, but Jackie was a really good player. Michael, but Jermaine was really good, and Tina was really good. Some of the guys were just kind of, I'd throw up air ball, that kind of stuff. And I had played in college. I played 1 year in college, and so I really loved basketball. I wish I'd played in high school. I didn't. It was kind of an afterthought. Yeah. But but then after Thriller came out, and then Jackie called me up and asked me, said, we're doing a pickup game on Sunday afternoon. You want to come over? I said, sure. So I come over, and the front gate is just swarmed with people. Had been at least 100 girls, just screaming, and they had 2 security guards out front. So when they knew me from before, so they said, "Oh, Mr. Stevens, you're right this way." I said, "Girls, you need to back it up," and they were like pushing them back. People are pounding on my car. You gonna go see Michael? And I looked at him like, "Get real." Of course, I was, but and I got to sit. Sometimes we go in. They had a little in-house bar in their house.
Yeah,
beautiful Tudor style mansion. It was. If you want to say it to me, it was just a big house. It had Tudor style. Cobblestone and wood. It was really pretty, and they had a nice big bar. So sometimes, I'd go in, and Catherine was there as mom, and she was so sweet. She goes, "Can I get you anything to drink?" She's so soft spoken. "Can I get you anything to drink?" I said, "I'll go for a Coke." And they had it on tap. They had everything on tap. They had beer, but they had near beer because they didn't drink, because they were Jehovah's Witness, so they were very religious in that regard. But they were, they had their chef to cook us, lunch and dinners and stuff like that. So that was fun. And then that kind of faded with time, because my schedule was taking me away, and I was doing different projects. And got into another stage show with, where I met Danny Roebuck was in No Time for Sergeants. That was in '85. And then I was doing Bob Uecker's World of Sports, which I wrote for the show, but I also acted with comedy sketches that we did for NBC. I did that for 3 years, and I was also a member of the Groundlings Comedy Improv Troupe Group at that same time from '85 to '88. So I was there when John Lovitz was there, Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens, Cassandra Peterson, who was Elvira,
Oh
Phil
yeah.
Hartman, all those guys. Yeah. So I had, and then I did some of the voices for Pee Wee's Playhouse. Um, and I did Cherry for a little bit, and then they had me do it. And then my schedule just, got wacky. And I say the one I can't really say I regret it, but because of my work with Pee Wee and also some other stuff, that what's his name? Who's the guy? Who's the creator of Saturday Night Live? Michaels. What's his name? Lauren Michaels.
Yeah.
And he invited me to be. I didn't have to audition because he saw my work. So he asked me to. That was the same time when John Lovitz was leaving, Groundlings, Dana Carvey, all those guys. They were all going to New York. And I said, "Well, I've got my contract with NBC. I can't just break out of it." He said, "Well, it's NBC too." I said, "I know, but I can't." So I had to turn him down. So I was invited to be a cast member for Saturday Night Live, but I turned him down reluctantly. But it was so funny when I got a call from John Lovitz, and he said, "Ian, you wouldn't like it." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I know how much of a stickler you are with when we're doing Groundlings. We prepare the sketches we're going to do, and then we do them. Whether I'm doing an old Carcass Shaler, I'm doing my pop like, we did a bunch of, different cartoon sketches. I did like come out in a Pink Panther up and go, "Have some Murgatroyd even? Which way to go? Which way to go even? Exit stage left." Did my Snagglepuss. We did Yogi. We did our tribute to Hanna-Barbera, which was kind of fun because I was actually trained by Dawes Butler, who was the voice of all the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So he was my
Wow.
voiceover mentor for many, many years in the early 80s at the same time. You try to, when you're an actor, a lot of actors just stay one point. They want to just be an actor. For me, it was like, I was influenced with the fact you had to be as Renaissance as possible. You had to be as versatile as possible to do anything and everything, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, so we did Thriller, and had no idea it was going to explode the way it did. And then of course Michael became more of a recluse over time and developed Neverland and stuff. I never got a chance to go up there, so all I saw was on videos and stuff.
Yeah.
I was invited to do Beat It, but I couldn't do Beat It because my schedule didn't allow it at the time. I was really busy. But I did other music videos. I did Toto. I did I got a couple of episodes of Toto videos, which was fun.
Hmm.
And but yeah, a couple years ago I think it was 23 was the 40th anniversary of Thriller, and I had arthritis really bad at the time. I was laid flat on my back for 6 months in a hospital, and some media guy with the BBC tracked me down because he had looked up all the lists of names on IMDb, and I'm listed as dancing zombie, and
Yeah.
zombie coming out whatever in the IMDb, and so he tracked me down, and I did a radio interview with the BBC for an hour and a half, telling how I got into Thriller, what it was like working with Michael Jackson, blah blah blah. He was like, "Oh, so was it really brilliant working with Michael? Did you ever call him MJ?" No, I never called him MJ. Called him by his name, or Mr. Jackson. But he would say, "Oh, don't call me Mr. Jackson. It makes me sound so formal." Fine, whatever.
Yeah.
And of course, John Landis always wanted to make us call him Mr. Landis. He's a bit of a prima donna. But anyway, so yeah, it was a lot of fun. So yes, I was one of the dancing zombies in Thriller, and had a great time doing it. And it's I only when the anniversary popped up that I start getting notifications from friends of mine. "Oh, did I saw these? Life magazine did a 40th anniversary in Thriller, and they had back behind the scenes, and I think I see you in these." And they would screenshot them and send them to me on Facebook, and I'd say, "Yep, that's me," or "No, that's not me," or "Yes, that's me." Because there was another guy that was also wearing. I wore a gray top most of my times for rehearsal. A gray sweat top was cut off at the arms, and black
Yeah.
sweats and sneakers. And so, but if you ever see the making of Thriller, it's about a 9-minute video how the whole concept came out. I'm at 0.7 minutes to the end where they show us rehearsing at Debbie Reynolds' studio. And if you
Yeah.
look to Michael, you look to the right, audience right, Michael's left. I'm the guy on the far side, and sometimes you can see me really clear.
That's
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I had a great time.
man. I would have
So
been
yeah,
like,
what's that?
I mean, I would be like, I can't believe I'm dancing with Michael Jackson, but like back in that day,
There
he
were
wasn't
moments.
as big.
Well, he was still big, but he was growing at that point.
Yeah.
But my background was so different because I came from the industry. My dad was in the industry. I mean, I knew as a little boy, I knew Walt Disney, because my dad was a consultant with him. He was one of the first engineers that helped design the audio animatronics. And
Oh
he and my
wow.
two uncles, yeah, and they had a company called Up and Atom, which dealt with science and special effects. My dad worked on The Day the Earth Stood Still and all the sound effects, and my uncles did too. They worked on Creature of the Black Lagoon, anything. The Wolf. I was a teenage werewolf with Warner Brothers with Michael Landon. That was his first movie. He got paid like $600, and that was it. So I grew up with that. So I mean, I was around celebrities. We used to have when we lived in the Hollywood Hills, when I was a little kid, when I was like 2, 3 years old, there were people like Dean Martin would come over, and or especially the Halloween parties. My mom and dad put on some great Halloween parties, and there was old character actors like Scott Brady and Richard Boone. I know
Top
some
break.
people, some of these people, but Darren McGavin, David Jansen. These are old
Yeah.
actors. The fugitive from the '60s. All these guys used to hang around my house. So for me as a little kid, I thought everybody knew these people. I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
So I had a reality check when I was in first, second grade. We had moved back up to Palo Alto because my dad attended Stanford. My dad was kind of cutting himself off from Hollywood, and we had to do an essay in class one time. It was like, who in your family made the most impact in your life? And so I wrote an essay, and I get the paper back, and the lady says, my teacher, Mrs. Wright, gave me an F, and she said, Ian, your descriptions are very colorful, but let's stick to the truth. And she put a sad face on it, and I went home in tears. I told my mom. She looked at it. She made a parent teacher conference, and she said, "What seems to be the problem?" Well, I liked Ian's essay, but I mean, come on, really, Walt Disney is his uncle? Well, not physically his uncle, but that's who we refer to. Well, how is that?
Yeah.
You guys live in he lives in Hollywood. He said, well, we just moved up here from Pacific Palisades. We had a house in Pacific Palisades in Hollywood Hills. And we, my dad worked in the industry, and he worked as a consultant, was one of the first consultants, helped him with Disneyland and all that kind of stuff. He was a boy genius. He was in his 20s and 30s when he knew Walt Disney, and he took advantage of all the young talent that was there. And my two uncles were one of them, amongst a team of 10 people. And he was just not under contract, but he was a consultant, is what it was. So, and we just moved up there. But yeah, we used to have him over for dinner, and we used to go to their house, and blah 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 blah. And so he had died in 1966. I was 8 years old at the time, and that's what inspired me to write that essay. And I miss my Uncle Walt. That's what I was saying. And what was this all about? And he was an artist. He drew um, uh, uh, Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse, and that's how she knew it was Walt Disney. And I said, well, yeah, I know Walt Disney. And she didn't believe me. And it's like, sorry, just, but you
Yeah.
see, I thought, growing up around well-known people. So by that time, and then I'd done a lot of stage. I did some commercials, and I did some Happy Days and Mork and Mindy. So I did that back in 1980, 81. So I've been around Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. And, and I knew a lot of the actors that were child actors, like Ron Howard, and I knew, Darby Hinton, who we're still friends today. Darby played Isaiah on the Daniel Boone Show on NBC with Fess Parker, and he's the same age as I am. We're both 67. Shh, don't tell anybody. I'm 67. And then Butch Patrick, and Butch played Eddie Munster. And but you see what happened was those guys would always book the TV series. Like he did Lipsville and HR Puff and stuff and all those shows, and I would always book the commercials. So we would go in, and the people at McDonald's go, well, you're too familiar to play Eddie Mustard. We can't use you. But, Ian, you've done some McDonald's for us. Let's see what we can do. And then I'd go and audition. I booked the job. So a lot of times not that they resent it, because those guys were making really good money. And I did okay. I wasn't complaining. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know. Some I made once I became older, because I did more McDonald's commercials even in my 20s and 30s when I was still living in LA. And then married Angie, and then years later we moved to Florida just to I actually was going to retire. I'd worked in production, worked at Universal, and I came out here and said, it's done. And then got a phone call. We need your help. What do you need my help for? Aren't you the same guy that worked at Universal and worked on all these movies and TV shows? I go, yeah, that's me. They go, we need your
Well, now
help.
you're
And I
back.
said, oh, I'm back. I
Well, now
am?
you're back full time. Speaking about being back, Cap Studios.
Anybody, it's our secret.
Let's talk about Cap Studios a little bit.
Okay, if
You're
you why I wear a cap. Well, I have all about the skin cancer, so I always have to wear caps and long sleeves and all that kind of stuff. So I don't soak up the sun like I used to. That's probably been my downfall because as a teenager, I wear cut off Levi's, and I was, early in the summer, I thought my name was Tyrone, if you know what I'm saying. What up? You know what I'm saying? I was so
yeah,
dark. The only thing was white was my butt. Anyway, Cap Studios, yeah, I built it up 15 years ago. You were at the screening that we had for Velvet Hammer back in
yep.
September at the Tampa Theater. We had a great turnout. We had 400 people show
Oh,
up, supported the arts, and we showed clips of a number of projects we had done over the 15 years. And then the last 3 or 4 projects have been real winners for it. And right now with Velvet Hammer, we're knocking it out of the ballpark, and we're hoping to get it changed into either a TV series or a TV movie, 2 hours, because it's right now it's at 37 minutes, so it's considered a short film, but we're also doubling up as a proof of concept. So this way we can sell it. So any of you major producers out there for the studios or television networks want to take it, we have been getting accolades left and right. We've had I got a notification from IMDb, which is basically the ratings we get from the general public along with Rotten Tomatoes, that I got a notification second week of January for Velvet Hammer, which is a faith-based Western. It's set in 1888, and it's just about a town that was ravished with a plague, and a traveler comes into town and gives hope to a hopeless town. Just basic, simple, but you're dealing with all different types of elements of the Bible. Lazarus, you're dealing with the prodigal daughter, you're dealing, Cain and Abel, you're dealing with all that kind of stuff that's in modern time and how that all intertwines. It came out really nice. Of course, I have to
yeah, it
give
was,
major Tammy Robic, who shot it. We shot 4 camera, and then she was also my editor, and so she put her little pixie dust on it and really made it magical. And it was kind of funny because at one of the film festivals, the Saints and Sinners, that was here in Florida, they did all the sinners on Saturday, and they did the Saints, all the faith-based movies on Sunday. And John Clark, who I've had in a couple of my movies, is also a student of mine, sitting in front of me. And these old ladies were sitting behind, and they've been there all afternoon watching all these movies. And ours came up, and the lady turns to another. She goes, "Wow, this is really going to be a movies movie." I just got a chuckle out of that. So did John. But that's just me. I mean, because I'm going to put out good product.
yeah.
And last 3 projects we had with the challenge, we got to the Cannes Film Festival, and we won Best Honorable Mention for Best Comedy Short. It was last minute, and we got in, and they loved it and sent me a notification. And then we did American Divided, Uncivil War, America Divided. I produced that along with other executive producer David Siracusa, who actually was the writer and started it. I brought him in to say, you need to uh, make it happen. You can
Yeah.
play the part, because it was a production company that was going to do it. They decided to bail on it because they didn't want to say Trump's name. Got really stupid. So that's when he
Yeah.
came to me and said, "Do you have studios can produce?" I said, "Sure, let me take a look at it." And it was very during the time of the Floyd murder and George Floyd and the Trump issues and all that kind of stuff. And so, David was concerned because he couldn't sell it to save his life. And I said, well, let me take a look at the script. I looked at it and I said, I don't owe Hollywood anything. They don't owe me anything. So let's do it. And I did 3 months, or actually 6 months worth of work in 3 weeks. And then we shot it for 3 weeks. I brought in Mazetta Vander, brought in Danny Roebuck, Lisa Yambo, some top talent to lift the recognition of the movie. And we got high ratings. We were over 80-90% for Rotten Tomatoes, which was really good. And we were high over 8%, 8.5, which is considered very high on IMDb. Then Velvet Hammer came out, blasted out. And we got a notification, I started to say, in the second week of January, that Velvet Hammer was the highest rated film on IMDb on the latter part of the last quarter of 2025 going into 26. And so we've got it as high as 9.7 out of 10.
Uh,
So yeah, it was really, really good. So we're still up there. I think we dropped a couple of points down, like 8.9, only because some smart Alex go in there and they put one, thinking some people don't know if there's one means that's the best or the worst. So I had a couple of people did that, and it brought it down. But I've got a boatload of people, especially from hearing from now, they can go in there to IMDb, rated to 10, and bring us back up, because that'll help us with our distribution when we get to that point. And
Yeah.
so we're looking for executives with the networks that want to, whether it's cable network or not, to take Velvet Hammer to the next level. And if it means we have to recast it or reshoot it, we're more able to do that. Happens all the time. I get it. Some of the cast members don't get that. They're thinking, "Oh, gee, am I going to be in TV show?" I said, "It's going to be up to the networks. If I have to replace people, it's the same thing now with Nocturnal Spirito. It's my comedy homage to Mel Brooks, and it's the budget's just skyrocket. I have my brokers in LA that are trying to get it out. So now we're seeking out A-listers. Well, not that we haven't had, because I've had Danny Roebuck in it as well, and Mazetta Vander, and a few others that are going to participate. Diane Clarice, she's out of Tyler Perry's group up in Atlanta, and she's going to play one of the vampires. So it's a
Wow.
comedy on Mel Brooks. It's a slapstick. It's breaking of the fourth wall, double takes of the camera, that kind of stuff. So we're really
How many?
excited. We're hoping to, once we get all the paperwork done, we're hoping to film in late September, October, up in Spencer, Massachusetts, which is up near you. So I know that
Yeah.
you'll be there. I've already for the viewing audience. He's going to play one of the townspeople in the opening scene. I can't tell you what it's going to be, and there's going to be some other stuff. And
Could it be
and
Bigfoot?
oh, that's right, you can. Shh, that's my type. But I no, it's Littlefoot. He's an Indian. Littlefoot. Yeah, it's Littlefoot. So anyway, yeah. So lots of things happening. I have a great cast, great crew, and I know some of it may change. But I just got a request out from them this afternoon that they just want 4 big names, and I said, fine. They're willing to spend the money. I have no qualm against that. I was staying within a required budget and staying within that framework, and now they bounced it up to a high 7-figure, and then now they bounced it up to a high 8-figure. So
Wow.
that's all I can say at this point, but it's looking really good, and they believe in it, and they know that I want to sell it globally, because if we sell it globally, you'll definitely make your money back. That's the difference between a lot of filmmakers who are trying to produce their work, is they want to limit themselves, and so they don't think outside of Florida, or they go to the local film festivals, and that's all they do. I know one guy, he doesn't want to do more than $5,000 per thing, per project. He said that way I know I can get my money back. I said, well, you're just
Yeah.
playing it safe. I said, dude, you got to think, because I was asked to consider producing one of his movies. I said, well, he said, how much did you do Velvet Hammer for? I said, 20,000, because I had to stay in the micro budget range with SAG. So I did it for 20 grand, and he panicked. He goes, oh, 20,000, that's too much money. I can't see doing that. And I just went, and I'm thinking to myself, what? This guy's a lightweight. I've dealt with millions of dollars when I was back at Universal. My direct boss was Lou Wasserman, who was the head of MCA Universal. And he did a lot of stuff with corporate sponsorship. So that's the key ingredient, is getting corporate sponsorship, product placement, and then individual people that want to go below, type thing. So that's kind of where we stand. Are you still there? I guess I lost you.
Hello? Check. Sorry, I just lost power for all of a sudden. Let's see what's going on. I lost Ian. Hold on. We will be right back.
What's out there we can't unsee. Beyond the veil of normal things. Listen close as the gospel sings.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I've had some
All
people
right.
just text me said they can't get on to call in.
Oh, to call in?
They wanted to call in, and they're saying they've been trying to get on the links that you sent me. I shared with them, and they can't get on to talk or anything.
All right, let me try to see what I could do here. Let's see if we could get a phone so people could call in, because that'd be really cool if we could get people to
Yeah.
call.
Let me let
Let's
them
try.
know that. Let me let them know that they could do that. Well, I can't
Yeah.
do it because I'm doing through Facebook Messenger, so I can't do it unless I cut off. So I'll just have to
Yeah.
tell them. You know, how much more time do we have? I don't want to talk your ear off when we go blank again.
We have 15 minutes here. Just
Okay.
keep talking while I'm gonna get this connected real
Well, anyway,
quick. And
so that's my life story in a nutshell. But anyway, because you were asking me about working with Michael, yeah, I'd been around celebs all my life, so I did. The only time I was very protective of my career was when I was in junior high and high school. There was some people that saw a movie that I was in, and they said, "Ian, we saw you in such and such a movie," and I went, "No, that wasn't me." They always say, you got an evil twin somewhere, so I just downplayed it. It wasn't until after high school, and then when I was doing more McDonald's commercials after I graduated from high school, that I would tell people, "Oh yeah, that's me," that kind of stuff. By that time, I had moved away from Palo Alto. I moved back down to Pasadena, started my career, went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, studied there. Then I went to AFI, did my year study there with filmmaking, and then just pursued my career. And that was all in the early '80s. And then '88, I got more into production internship. I did at Universal Studios. So I had to I was a tour guide for a year while I had to find work on the back lot. And then eventually I did. And then I ended up
yeah,
being I worked for Universal and I was attached to LA Law, and I was their line producer. So I interned as line producer, did the line producer. It's the most thankless job in the world because you're doing all the permits, all the budgeting, all the who gets what, what's just where the production trucks need to be, blah 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 blah. But so yeah, I just got another message from my producer saying she couldn't call in. So
all right, people can call
anyway,
in now. If you want to call in, you could dial the number 239-351-0722. Let's try to get you in to ask some questions to Ian Stevens on the Animal
what
Expedition
you got
Files show.
questions for little old me? Oh my goodness.
So we'd love to hear from you. Give that call 239-351-0722. I did have someone ask a question about Michael Jackson. Let's go here real quick before somebody calls.
Sure.
Oh, here it is. Faith Lynn, Marcia Lane, female main dancer in this Thriller video next to Michael.
Just not personally, no. I mean, a lot of us came in, did our thing, and left. I mean, that's the thing with dancers is that they're very, very competitive. And so
Yeah.
I came in, as more of an actor, performer, dancing. So I only got to know. I really knew Michael James, who was my buddy. He was the one that kind of brought me in, and of course Michael Peters, who was our choreographer, and then of course Michael and one or two others. So that music's popping in there. So,
Yeah.
what was the question? Did I know who?
Hello? Someone, I think someone's on the phone.
Okay. Who's my buddy? He's the one that kind of brought me in. And of course, Michael Peters, who was our choreographer. And then, of course, Michael and one or two others. What's the question? So, what was the question? Did I know who? Hello?
Hello?
I think someone's on the phone. Are we on delay? I'm hearing a feedback on the delay like 10 seconds.
No, let me turn the music.
He's the one that kind of brought me in. And of course, Michael Peters, who was our choreographer. And then, of course, Michael and one or two others.
That's weird.
Well, Josh, what's the question?
Hello?
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 Are we getting a stalker? All I hear is heavy breathing.
I don't know. That was weird. And I was like, who
Well,
is
what was the
that?
question? What was the question from Faith Lynn Dickinson? She's one of my
Uh,
actors. She was in Faith. She played if you remember the movie, she was the girl that lost the horse. and blamed it on her girlfriend that stuttered.
You know, Marcia Lane, female main dancer in this Thriller video next to Michael.
Well, I don't know if you consider her as the main dancer, unless she considers herself. But like I said, when I did videos, because the market is so competitive, dancers, unless they worked in a lot of projects together and they were like sisters or brothers growing up in that genre. But if you go into a project and you're working with so many other dancers, you don't really get to know them and we were under a tight schedule. So it wasn't social hour for us, especially the way John Landis likes to run a set. So I remember who she was, but I don't know if I would consider her the main dancer. There was a dancer next to him. It was me on the other side, and there was two others on the front line. But we also interchanged. So the front line went to the back line, and then depending on the choreography, we'd end up. It was like a rotation. So we do a front line, rotate to the back line, be in the middle, and then come up. So if you really watch the video, and if you like pinpoint me, you could see how I diverse myself to the back row, middle row, front row, depending on where we are in the video.
I think someone's on the phone.
I didn't know her personally.
Hello?
I did not know that
Hello?
person. Yes.
You guys are talking. I can't hear you at all.
Can you hear us now? Hello?
I think that was Dustin Wagner.
Yeah, it said Dustin on it. I don't know.
Yeah, he's one of my producers for Cap Studios.
Hold on, let me see. Someone else is calling.
Where we are in the video.
Hello?
I think someone's on the phone.
I think you have to turn down your sound. Hello?
You guys are talking. I can't hear you at all.
That's weird. if you are calling in, you might want to turn your sound down because it will feed back into your mic. That's why I think the issue is happening.
Don't turn on your radio or your computer. It sets up a delay, and it's terrible. That's why if you ever call into a radio station like Rick Dees or anybody major or Howard Stern, they always tell you to turn your radio down because it'll throw a delay on you, and
Let me
it
try
causes.
Let me
We
call
call
Dustin. Let me try to call him and see if it works.
Ringing.
Hello, Dustin?
Hello, it's Dustin.
Hey, Dustin, how's it going? This is Josh from Animal Expedition Files.
I am not getting any audio coming through on my phone.
I wonder why.
Modern technology.
I know. There's always something that's not going to...
Let me try to go on my computer and see if we can call that way, and I'll use the computer for audio.
All right, I appreciate it.
I saw someone else try to pipe in. I saw someone said, "Hi, Ian." And it looked like a female's. Who was that?
I don't know. Let me see and try that.
Hello?
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 Can you hear us?
Try to pipe in. I saw. Hi, Ian.
Hello?
I don't think they can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know. I got to figure something out why that shouldn't be happening. I don't know.
Well, let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah.
I don't want.
Yeah, sorry, we're having technical difficulties calling in. If anything, just you could go on the chat board here and we
Just
could
type in your thing, and then we'll try to get back to you because we're gonna try to do this on a weekly basis. But because next week I'm gonna be in Boston, I got sponsored to go up there.
Speaking about Boston,
What's that?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. The Boston.
Okay. The Boston International Film Festival is one of the most prestigious film festivals in the United States. Apparently, this year is based on inspiration films, and so the president of them called me. This was about 2 months ago, and asked me if we would submit. It was already past the deadlines because I was asked if I could. I looked at the schedule, and it was already a week past on the last deadline to enter submissions. So I called up, and the guy said, "Oh, well," the guy was East Indian. He goes, "Oh, we saw you think you could we loved your film. It's wonderful. We want to have it part of the film festival. It's a great movie." I said, "Wonderful. hey, sure. So I sent them all the information. We did, we sent in a submission and all that kind of stuff. And they just basically rolled out the red carpet. We have, there's going to be over 200 films that are going to be reviewed and screened at the film festival. And they're highlighting
Wow.
5, and we're one of them. So thanks to everyone for Velvet Hammer right there. So we're real excited. I know you're going to be joining us on the red carpet, so that's going to be really cool. And that'll be next Wednesday, the at the IMAX Cineplex there. It's huge. So a lot of film festivals have different venues, like 3 or 4 different theaters. This is like this multiplex, and it's right there in the harbor. Is Donnie St. John is one of the producers. He goes, yeah, it's right there in the harbor, across from Old Ironsides U.S. Constitution. I went, great. We can walk over and take U.S. history there. That'd be great. I love U.S. history. I used to sub-teach, and that was my subject I taught. So I'm going to look forward to that. I've been to Boston once before, but I didn't get a chance to go into the town with Donnie or anybody else for that matter, because we were mostly in Spencer, Massachusetts when we were doing B-roll film for Nocturnal, and that was a couple of years ago. And then I took ill, and now I'm, getting back to 100%. So that's going. But yeah, next week's going to be really, really cool. We had a lot of celebrities up there: Harvey Keitel, F. Murray Abrams. People say, "Who's F. Murray Abrams?" New generation doesn't know him, but he won Best Actor in 1981 for his role in Amadeus, and he played the Count, along Tom Hulse, who played Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and so he'll be. He was also in uh, Scarface with Al Pacino, in the scene where he played middleman drug dealer, and the head guy didn't like him. He knew he was a cop as a double agent. So in the scene where Pacino and the head guy are sitting having breakfast, the third guy he said was going to take him back to his hotel. He tells Al Pacino, look up at the helicopter. Hey, Tony, look at the helicopter. And you got F. Murray Abrams. He's got a rope around tied around his neck, and so they throw him off the helicopter, and they hang him. And so it was like, boom, boom, boom. But he's been around a long time. He was in Chicago. He was been in a lot of great classic movies. So he's going to be up there. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Wahlburgers, Donnie and Mark. I mean, they're all from Boston, and they like to promote their town. It's the 24th year they're doing it, and it's gained a lot of reputation. And because it's in Boston too, they get a lot of top talent from London, so they fly over, so they don't feel like they have to go far to go to LA. It's just a 4-hour flight from London to Boston. Boom, they're there. And they treat everybody with kid gloves. They treated me with, up to this point, with red carpet gloves. I mean, they've just done a fantastic job. So I'll be flying up on Wednesday, and then the thing starts on Thursday. I'll be staying with Donnie St. John, who's one of my. He's got a place up in Boston, not too far from there. So I'll be staying the week there, and then Sunday night on the 12th is our screening at 6:30 for Velvet Hammer, and they're highlighting it, which is really nice. And then the next day is the 13th on Monday, which is kind of odd because the film festival is ending on Tuesday. So Monday the 13th is my birthday, so they're going to take me out to dinner, and that's kind of nice. And then Jackie will be there. Hopefully you'll be there. And then
I'll be.
and Nick Bannon, and he's coming up from Pennsylvania, and we'll have a great time dinner. I get to get my triple layered chocolate cake for dessert. I have to make it sugar free because type 2 diabetes, unless I just bring a lot of insulin. And then 14th is the award show. And so we're up for, from what I understand, we're up for best cinematography. So that would go to Tammy. And best, I don't know if they call it best cinematic or whatever it's called. And then there's best short film and then best film of the festival. So we're up for 3 nominations categories. So we're excited. And then the 15th, that'd be that Wednesday, so I'll fly back then. My flight, I have a 6-hour layover in Atlanta. So my flight leaves at 12:30 just afternoon. I arrive in Atlanta at 6, and then I arrive at 4, and then I leave at 10 o'clock that night from Atlanta to Tampa, and I pull in just after midnight. It's like I'll be at Airport City for 12 hours. I don't mind. I always keep myself busy. I did that last summer when I was in California. My flight didn't leave till 6 a.m. for Burbank, and it was kind of a nice surprise. Talk about meeting another celebrity. On the way from San Francisco to Burbank, an hour and 10-minute flight, 6 a.m. I'm looking at this guy to my left and go, I know this guy from somewhere. So I introduced myself. I said, "Oh, you look like a friend." Or so I said, he goes, "Oh, hi, I'm Smokey Robinson." I went, oh, great. I said, well, we do have a mutual friend. He said, who? I said, Frank Wilson. He goes, oh, and Frankie passed away like 2 years ago. And he wrote a lot of songs for Motown. So he knew them back when they were together in the 50s and 60s. And Frank and his wife Bunny lived out near me in Rancho Cucamonga, so we used to get together for dinner from time to time. And so yeah, we talked about Frank mostly of the time. And here I'm sitting next to the man that influenced the frickin' Beatles, you know. So someone said they could hear us, but it's all on delay. So we're not.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. So those who are listening, sorry for the inconvenience. Next time we're up, we'll make sure that all the technical glitches will be fixed. But yeah, so I mean, it was a lot of fun, and so I'm really looking forward to next week. I think it's gonna be special. I think we're only gonna do maybe 2 or 3 more film festivals. One in Chicago because that's one of the top rated ones, and then one in Texas because two of my major contributors who were EPs on it were out of Austin area. So I'll probably do one there, and then one in California, and then that'll wrap it up. Maybe Toronto, we're not sure. That's next September. But if I push that out, then all the while I can still work on Nocturnal Spirito, get that underway, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of wheeling and dealing between a couple projects. But in between time, I'm going to be doing some short film subjects. I'm working with the wonderful Angela Kennedy, who's an independent producer and director herself, right? And we are, as a matter of fact, we're meeting for lunch tomorrow again, and then doing
Wow.
some planning for some film shorts that we want to do. And can't get that bag out because people have a tendency to steal ideas. Isn't that sad? They still steal ideas. So I always, the minute I write something, I register it with WGA. It's $20, big deal. Get it locked in, and then if I register it with SAG, then it's for sure that. So if anybody decides to steal my idea and produce it before I do, sure. But people are they copywritten and it's ready to go. And register with WGA, Writers Guild of America, then nobody will touch you. At least they shouldn't.
Wow.
But it does happen. But if you do, a lot of independents don't cover their work. They don't copyright
Yeah.
their work. Doing all this other stuff. So anyway, so I'm really excited about next week. I'm excited to see you
Yeah.
there, and we're gonna have a
I'm gonna get.
blast.
It's gonna be awesome. I just to be able to be around, like you said, Ben Affleck, the Wahlburgers, and just all of those amazing people. Be able to just to
Well,
get
Harvey Keitel
a,
and Edward Abrams. I mean, you're talking about Hollywood legends here.
yeah,
You know,
Ian
anybody
Stevens,
else?
another legend.
Oh, Ian Stevens. Yeah, I heard you guys are real drip. Oh, wait a second. One second. That's me. Ooh, don't tell anybody. So I'm going to go under an alias. It's going to be alias Snuffinhassen Snoppenheimer. That'll work for me.
I'm just was animal.
I'll go by Gertrude Sickenheimer. That's the name. I go by that name, and I walk in with a German accent, and I tell everybody I love being a filmmaker. I started at the age of 4. I was drawing crayons for movies when I was 5.
Wow.
Look at that.
I gotta answer Faith Lynn's question here. Well, no,
Okay.
it's not a question. She said she heard a girl, which is kind of funny that she says that because every time I talk to my wife, I walk because this house is a 1930s home, and right now it's just me and my dog,
30s, yes.
and it's very haunted. This house, like ever
Well,
since I
you do
moved
have
in,
a tenor voice, though.
huh?
Your voice is very high pitched.
No,
You're,
that
you,
like literally, like every time when I'm talking to my wife on the phone, like when I go up the stairs, I'm FaceTiming her. She literally
right?
hears a person talk through the phone, like literally, like someone's having
Oh,
a
you
conversation
have
with.
a party line or something like that.
Huh?
You don't have a party line or something like that.
No,
So, in other words, you have an apparition.
I have a ghost. Yeah,
No.
maybe multiple.
We have we have a friendly ghost in our house. His name is Charlie, and sometimes I haven't talked to him in a long time, but I remember one time that I asked him to make himself known. Can you flicker the hall light? And sure enough, there's the hall light
Yep.
right there, and it flickered. And then he opened and shut a door, but he doesn't hurt anybody. He's just very friendly. We don't know if he was here because my in-laws bought this house when it was first built back in the mid to late 80s. So I don't know unless there was a previous homestead on this property where somebody that passed and didn't cross over. I don't know. So anyway, but no, I don't
Yeah.
deal. If I was attacked by a demon one time, but I used the power of the name of Jesus Christ, and he was gone in a millisecond. So I am a man of faith. I'm very proud of it. I don't proselytize. I don't slam Bibles against people's backs heads saying turn or burn. I'm not that way. I figure people have to know from their heart where they're at with life, and do a velvet hammer approach, soft yet strong. That's the. This actually came as a term paper I did in psych class, and I was trying to figure out a term, and I was sitting with my friend in the library, and he said, "Well, what's real soft?" I said, "You mean like velvet?" He goes, "Well, there you go." Well, what's really strong? I said, "Like an axe or a hammer." He goes, "There you go, velvet hammer." I went, "Okay, great." So I, did it for my term paper, and then I used that throughout life. Especially when I raised my kids, especially if they were being
Yeah.
bullied or whatever. I said, well, you got to respond with kind of a, don't let people walk over you, but hit them back strong but soft, not enough to hurt anybody. You're not going to physically accost anybody. Maybe use some powerful words, and like what, Daddy? And then I would tell them, I would say stuff like, if you really want to get into a cut down like your mama joke session, I got a boatload of that stuff. If you want to say, you like, I remember this one kid was bullying Jeffrey. He was like in the third, fourth grade. And he just, Dad, how do I handle it? I said, just tell him, say, were you born stupid or do you have to work at it? And he said a bunch of friends at recess. And they all went, oh, you got burned. Jeffrey burned you, dude. Boo, boo, boo. So he came back and goes, yeah, Dad, I used what you told me. So I had a boatload of stuff I told the kids what to use. And so then when Jeffrey asked, I said, when Lisa and I finished the script, he said, what are you calling it? I said, Velvet Hammer. He goes, oh, you mean that term you used to with us growing up about, being strong and soft? I said, yeah, you know. So what other wonderful questions do you have for me, Mr. Joshua?
Well, before we do go, I want you to talk about like your next projects that are coming up pretty soon. That you got in the back of your pocket, because I know you got quite a few
Yeah, I have
that are going to be coming out in the works.
one I can't talk about right now, but two of them I can talk about are my own. The third one I can't talk about is because I'm producing it and I confidentially, although we do have some major stars attached to it already, which is cool. But Nocturnal Spirito is the next one up on the mantelpiece, up and on deck for me to hit it out of the ballpark. And in movies you have what's called uh, pre-development, development, pre-production, production, post-production, screen premiere. So with Nocturnal Spirito, we're in the development stage. We're past the pre-development. We're at the development stage, and then right at the verge of getting pre-production. That's when the money comes in, and then we get started and all that stuff. So we're almost there as far as the financing. They just have to have some clarification on some of the talent because I already have top crew. I got Rick Alexander's doing my sound. He's one of the top in the industry. I have Mark Palladini, who's handling all my major casting. He discovered Andy Garcia, Cameron Diaz, all those people. So Mark's been a friend for a long, long time. So I booked him in yesterday. And we're hoping to shoot that. It's an homage to Mel Brooks. It's a comedy horror. It's as people, I can't really say much about the ending because it's a surprise ending, but I know that there's going to be a style of people who love that genre who are going to absolutely love me. And there's going to be a style of people of the genre who are absolutely going to hate me. So I know I'm not going to be able to please everybody because some people will watch it and they think, oh, that's an interesting ending. Or somebody will look at it and go, oh, that was stupid. Or somebody will say, oh, that was really great. It depends on who your audience members are. We had the same thing with Uncivil War. When we did the test audience on Civil War, we had a set of Democrats, all nothing but, and three people were left. Everyone else walked out after the first half hour. The next night, we had a whole nother set of Democrats in there, and they're saying, we loved it. We thought it was fair on both sides. It was open-minded, blah, blah, blah. And we just go, great. And they took a poll and helped with Rotten Tomatoes and boost us up to 95%. So, I mean, things like you just never know. You're not going to please everybody. And I know, but
No.
I do have a nice thing. I did share the script with some prominent people in Hollywood. A guy I worked with who ended up being a studio head, who's now retired. He said, Ian, I've seen all your work. He said, if you shoot this film, if you shoot Nocturnal Spirito the way it's written, he says, you have a future comedy cult classic on your hands. I said, really? He says, yep. He says, you'll be another Rocky Horror Picture Show. You'd be another Mel Brooks. You'd be another Blazing Saddles, another Young Frankenstein. I said, well, that's what I want. I want to leave a legacy, if anything. I don't. People need to remember anything, but I do want to leave something. I want to leave my imprint on this world, hoping for God, for myself and my family. Reputation and good integrity, and that's what it's all about, really. And for me, Cap Studios, I always want to create an environment of happiness and fun. I don't want people waking up going, "Oh God, I got to go work with Ian today," or "I got to work with Cap Studios," that kind of crap. No, I want people to go get up and go, "Yeah, I'm excited to go to the set today." Well, it's a playground. That's what I tell my students when I do my classes or on my sets. Welcome to the playground. We're here to create. You're all here to ingredients, throw in paint on the wall and see what sticks. And we paint the picture, but it's my job to frame it. And and it just makes it simple, and it makes a good director, producer, actor relationship happening. And I've been very proud of my work. I've been proud of the people I've worked with. And as a result, look at the last 3 projects in the last 6 years have been goom, 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 goom. So I'm on the right track. I'm making it happen. Meeting wonderful people like yourself. And that's the other thing, folks. You want to know the animal. One of the top podcasters in the United States, 6 million followers and growing. And I'm glad we're friends because we're here to iron sharpens iron and doing each other favors happen. And so that we become, if you want to say we're household names, we're household names. I've always kind of been gun shy to that, but now I've accepted the fact of being in the limelight to work, but to make people happy, not because I'm looking for prestige or pat on the backs or any of that kind of stuff. I do want to make sure that I'm staying on track with the kind of work that I'm doing and having fun doing it. And that's the bottom line, really. Just have fun, make your hobby your vocation your hobby. That was what my parents always told me. To have fun with you, but do what you have is fun. And that's the bottom line. So there's that. And then my big one next year, which I'll do, is called Rescued Innocence, and that's a real serious one. That's a real heavy film, very graphic. I'm not pulling any stops out. It's going to be like The Exorcist and Saw and some other stuff, but it's based on real stuff. It's based on true stories. I'm working with Sharon Thorne, who's a former agent. She inspired me 5 years ago when I was writing it. A number of people in the industry or people that were in the mafia found out about it, and they got my life threatened. And so, but fortunately, all those guys are now gone, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. And I'll just change name stuff. You can say based on true story, but it's all about Tampa. I mean, Tampa. Sad to say, as much as I love living here in Tarpon Springs, and we're a very safe community, but Tampa, along with Atlanta and Miami, are the top 3 cities for sex trafficking, which is really sad. Yep. So, and we're also working on the back end of the story is the recovery side. So, rescued innocence. Rescue the people who have been traumatized through sex trafficking, human trafficking. And this back end of it is we're working with Academy Award nominee Jennifer O'Neill, who was a star of many movies. And she was the cover girl spokeswoman for many, many years. She has a rehabilitation horse farm in Tennessee. And so we're going to be utilizing her talents. And she asked, it was so funny when she called me up, she said, do you have I said, Miss O'Neill. She goes, oh no, you can call me Jennifer. And inside I'm dying. I'm going, I get to call you Jen. Oh my gosh. I remember when I was a teenager, I used to have her poster up on my wall, Not that I was a pervert or anything. Just, guys had Farrah Fawcett and the girls from Charlie's Angels up on their wall, Raquel Welch. Or sometimes I always had the Three Stooges, go figure. But my brother's always the one that had Jennifer O'Neill up there. So now she's invited us up there to Tennessee to come check it out. But that will be the latter part. The second half of the story is the recovery of the girls with horse therapy, which is a true thing. They have a thing where they don't call it PSTD. They don't think it's a disorder. They just call it post-traumatic stress because they've seen people healed from the horse therapy. So if it's a disorder, you can never get rid of it. This, they know they can get rid of it. They have proof positive. So I'm plugging you, Jennifer O'Neill. I love you. And we'll hopefully be up there this year to scout out she's given us an open invitation. I think it's called Hillside Farms or something like that up there. And just great stuff. So they have a worship center they built on the property, and it's outside of Nashville. So she and her husband live up there, and some of her kids from previous marriages. But it's a great ministry up there. So we're looking forward to that. And awesome. So that's what I got going for next year. So I normally try to write scripts for the actors. So I just don't put a lot of casting notices out. I will if I need to, and if I need to use Mark Palladini for certain things, then of course he's can take care of that. And anything we need to do on the other one for Rescued Innocence. That one I can say I'm really going to try to shoot to either get JT John Travolta or Brad Pitt for that, because it'd be perfect for it, and or Denzel. But Denzel doesn't want to do heavy stuff anymore. So I'm going to see if I can try and get Denzel to do Nocturnal, because there's a couple of character parts that he can play, and it's totally out of his realm. But
Yeah.
I am going to leave the door open, because even though we've got people in LA working hard to try to get things happen, I have to have a backup plan. So if any of you people have deep pockets and you want to be involved, because the time's changing, it's the way of the independent. Cap Studios, we're a major independent player, and we've been very fortunate. And I take no prisoners, if you will. I don't get scared off like, oh, $10,000, oh my God, that's pittance, compared to what you want to do in this day and age. But the studios are moving; they're moving out of California. Warner Brothers, Sony, they're all moving to Vegas. No state tax there. A lot of actors are moving to Pinellas County here in Florida, where I live, which part of St. Pete, all the way up to Tarpon Springs. And the real estate people are telling us, oh, well, I guess we got cut off. Can you hear me? gotta eat something. Ugh. There we go.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You're fine.
All right, yeah, that's. I'm just using my computer mic because for some reason this whole system's acting weird.
Well, there we go. Well, part 3, everybody.
Part
So for
3.
those of you who have deep pockets, or those of you that know someone with deep pockets, even if you refer someone to me that helps us out, I'll give you a commission, and it'll be very handsomely well done, up a percentage of the overall budget. But I want to just kind of reiterate to the audience that, and especially the filmmakers, that if you really want to play big league and big ball, you've got to be well prepared. You got to know your
Yeah.
stuff, and some of it's just trial and error. But for the most part, you want to get back up to where you want to be seen, and not just the United States. You got to think globally. You got to think BBC. You get in with the BBC, you've got all of Europe covered. You want to get with India, you've got 1 billion people that are going to see your work. You want to go with Southeast Asia, Singapore, Australia, you got to think globally. You got to think outside Mexico City, the Caribbean. You got to think on a larger scale. And so the thing that I'm finding out, because Martin Scorsese, after last year's Academy Awards, an independent film only cost $6 million to make, won Academy Award, Best Picture, right? So he said, Martin Scorsese got up and he said, "Well, it's the way of the independent now. Studios aren't doing what they're not putting up the upfront money for projects anymore. They're only doing, the studios are now available for soap operas, game shows, and sitcoms, and that's it." And so he says what's happening is that some of the major studios like Sony, they've just bought 500 acres right across the street from the LA Raiders, or the Las Vegas Raiders. They're going to build a compound there. Well, why? Because Nevada's tax free. They got screwed by Gavin Newsom and all that. And then the same with Warner Brothers is doing the same thing. And Universal may do that. Well, Universal, they can transfer all of the stuff they have here. And because I have a connection with Universal, because of my work there, I have access to utilizing Universal, or anybody can use it really, but they just need to know who to talk to over there. So you use the back lot. They have a legitimate back lot. They got legitimate production studios to use, and sound stages if you want a more controlled environment. So it's like, if anybody works with Cap Studios, just know that they're going to get quality work. They're going to get quality production. So what's happening now, because of the way of the independent, for many, many, many years, you had people in Texas, or people big pockets, and said, "Well, I always want to be in the movies, and my little Lulu Bell, maybe she could play a fire hydrant. I'll put up $10 million." Couldn't do that before because the studios wanted complete control. Now the studios are just doing distribution. They're not getting raw. They're not, unless they got some solid thing like Marvel or things like that. But even so, DC Comics, they're utilizing other studios to do the front money work now, because they've made so much money hand over fist. You have Stanley Productions, even though he's gone now. His people that run his estate are putting money out. So it's all the way of the independent. So it's like, okay, we've got the talent. I have access to talent. I can literally. People say, "How did you get Dan Roebuck to be in this movie?" I said, "Pick up the phone and call." "How did you get Musetta Vander blah 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 to be in this?" And, she's been in a boatload of movies. Pick up the phone and call. I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and call. And they say, "Well, what if they say no?" Well, they could say yes. You got the money. You got the escrow. Who's going to say no to money? I've talked to lots of people, and I have access to connections with Morgan Freeman and Ashley Judd and Harvey Connick Jr. Chris Christopherson is gone, but they all came here to Tarpon Springs and did Dolphin Tale a couple of times. So they left a residual for us to follow up with what's going on. And a lot of celebrities, as I told before, my friends in real estate have renamed Pinellas County Beverly Hills East, because a lot of them are moving here. They love it here, and they don't want to move back to California. I was here last summer, and I have no desire to move back to California. It's just dirty. It's gritty. The fires, you still smell ash in the air, and their political scheme is just a mess. So I'd rather it was the best move I ever made. My kids were in a good school system. They were in one of the top music programs in the world with Tarpon Springs, that type of thing. Don't want to get off book, but anyway. So the way of the independent, now there's that opportunity to people who are billionaires through making money through podcasts or network things on having an IPO on different projects, and they want to be able to put their money in something. Well, the nice thing about when you do a film, we can never guarantee by law that your investment is going to pay off. You can't have an ROI. You could say, well, as with all investments, especially with film, there is a chance that we won't make money. Well, just as simple as that. If you don't make money, you write it off. And some people have that extra money that they want to put them in a different tax bracket. That all they need to do is give Cap Studios, say, $10 million. If we make money back on that, fine. Then they get their money back plus a percentage of the profits on the back end, especially if it's long-lasting film that's going to show for years, like we hope with Nocturnal Spirito. But anything on beyond that, excuse me, then it's a write-off, and it's a win-win situation. So people don't know about their tax breaks, especially with a tax-free state like Florida. But my CFO, Joe Tesson, is a CPA. He also is a professor at University of Tampa, teaching accounting and tax law accounting. So if anybody wants to know how they can get into the film industry and do well and be with a top company like Cap Studios, I pride myself. I have a great team with Dustin Wagner. It's one of my producers. Flora Torrance is one of my senior producers. I have Jose. God, I wish I could pronounce his last name. It's a heavy Mexican last name. I'll have to memorize it. Jose is also helping with my marketing distribution. And Debbie Paulson, who has a lot of hands full, but she'll be stepping in from time to time to help us out with distribution and connections and so forth. And I have some other, Jackie Seymour, who's up in Boston area, is going to help us out being on site. She's an artist in her own right, very well known in the New England area. So having her part of the project, and she's handling all the permits and stuff because most of the areas we're filming are on her property, so we don't have to pay permits. Yay! So it's just that we're on the way up, especially with Velvet Hammer. It's allowing us to then expand that if we need to, but allows us to curtail with all the other projects we have going. We really take our pride in being a number one. Yeah, I can't be any better than having someone like Mark Pellegrini with casting, and some of my producers and the people I'm working with Tammy Roebuck, who's been my DP and is going to be my on-site producer with Nocturnal Spirito. And then when we do my big project, doesn't mean I'm going to retire afterward, but that's my heart's desire because it's been on the block for 6-7 years with Rescued Innocence, and I really want to see that happen. What it says, I have a document on haunted apartment. Oh, there you go. You have someone that's Michelle Kellogg. Is that right? She just Michelle. She just typed in. She wants to make a documentary on a haunted apartment and my experience living there. Well, there you go, Josh. He's a hunter, and if we got the time to do a documentary, we could. I guess he's doing that, but you got to find the funding. So, and Flora Torrance, my Jose, she just popped up his name. It only popped up. Can you see what it said under Florence? She just piped in. Jose J.D. Diegas. Okay. Thank you, Flor. Love you. Here she come through. And Jose has got a passion like a fireball. He really has helped us to make it all. Let's go. Yeah. Look, Jose's piping in. Let's go. Yeah. So
now, before we do go, if you are an actor or a paranormal enthusiast or a director, and you want to be on Animal Expedition Files, please message us. Love to hear from you. Love to hear your stories. We'd love to see what your passions are, and give us a shout. We love to have you on the show.
It's kind of like in the lines of Conjuring. So that's if it's something we can even turn it into a reenactment type thing of movies, as well as a documentary. We can do both genres. Jose's got the storylines. I've got the thing like that. We just need to find funding. Remember, if you come in with the deep pockets, that'll help. And Flora says Jose's doing it. He really is. And this gal, Michelle, says she's in Oregon and has some funds for it. So there we go. All right, we'll get Michelle. Give us information. Let's get it to Jose. He'll pass it on to me. We'll discuss it because it'd be a certain amount that we definitely going to need if we're going to do a documentary. Time, place, length, and that kind of stuff. If location's in Oregon, that would have to figure all that out to figure what's within our budget to do that. I'm totally open to that. I'm not staying with one genre, but I like what Jose just said. We are one big family. We really are, and I think that's the key to our, if you want to say success, but allowing us to keep drawing in people that want to be a part of our program because we're moving forward. I'm not doing small potatoes. People say, "Oh, how did you do this, do that?" It's just a matter of getting on the phone. I don't use the film festivals as my science project, and that's what a lot of filmmakers do. There are a lot of local people, and they just utilize
Yeah.
something in the south. They may go to Atlanta, but you got to stretch your wings. I mean, David and I, gosh, love David. He did a lot of the connections with the film festivals. We with Film Freeway, which does the film festivals. There's 15,000 film festivals around the world, and with Uncivil War, we won Best Picture in the Mexico City Film Festival, Australia in Melbourne and Brisbane. The Touchstone, run by Disney, we won Best Picture last year at their film festival in Miami. We were in not Dubai. We were in India, in Mumbai, and we won Best Picture there. So,
Wow.
CAC Studios has got a great, terrific record with a lot of laurels and a lot of successes with the picture. David even won locally for Best Screenplay. He's a terrific writer, and we collaborate. I'd like to collaborate with him some more, but he's moved up to Atlanta now, and he's kind of doing some different things. And so my hat's off to him. I'm gonna keep my hat on. So I hope, Josh, that helps, because for those of you like Michelle and for others that have just piped in, we want to let you know that we have access to do the things that we can take you from one level to the next. So if you have an idea, you want to pitch it to it, it's not self-serving, but a decent message to get out to the general public, whether we do it in film format or documentary format, which we can do both, then let us know that we can, make it.
I think I lost him. This time I lost Ian. But oh man, thank you everybody for watching Animal Expedition Files. Sorry that we're having technical difficulties and people were trying to call in. We'll have that fixed hopefully next time. I'm going to be doing some little testing in the next couple of days and get that see what's going on here. But yeah, I hope everybody has a good night, a good a week, and yeah. This time we lost Ian Stevens. Yep. I think his phone died or something like that. But thank you guys. I will be contacting you guys. Please message me, all y'all, and if you want to be on my show, especially Florence, yeah, definitely message us. We'd love to get with you and definitely have you on the show now that I'm settled in my new home, and we can all have you guys on my show. I hope everybody has a good night. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Lights on. Dark Realm TV.